And we're live. Hi, Linda.
Hi, Becca.
Hi, Tracy.
Hi, girls. How you doing?
Pretty
Great.
good. Yeah, we took like a 2-week break, and we're back, and we have a really wonderful guest, Tracy Keogh.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. So, Linda, why don't you go ahead with your questions there?
Well, first of all, I want to say it's really good to be back. And we do have a couple of announcements maybe we should make first.
Oh, yeah, that's
right. I know everybody's heart is in the right place, sending Brendan things for art, crafts, and this and that. But please, guys, don't do it anymore. He cannot accept any more gifts, shall we say. No more hobby things, nothing like that. It actually will get Brendan in trouble because you are only allowed a certain amount of things. So if you really want to send him something, send him some money for his canteen, and then he can buy his supplies. Best thing ever and real good advice is just check with Barb or Carla, and they will let you know. But please stop sending things to Brendan. But keep the cards coming and the letters coming and the well wishes. We definitely never stop that. And maybe we can get some more people tonight in here to do that. I know we kind of recruit another person or two every time. So please feel free to write to Brendan and give him a card or two, send him a colored picture. He likes all that stuff and he really appreciates that. But no more art supplies, hobby supplies, gloves, hats. It's very great that you do that, but honestly, save the money and send him the money instead.
in fact, right now it also includes books in that. I think books would be a good thing to stay away from right now too.
Yeah,
so just letters and cards. Right now. That way it can calm down for him and he doesn't get in trouble with anything.
Right. We don't want to get Brendan in trouble.
Yeah.
We just want to brighten his day. That's what we try to do. Okay, Tracy, first of all, I want to say thank you for being with us. I am very, very honored. You know, everybody knows me in the community. They know I'm fangirling right now. I got Becca and Tracy. So I feel very honored. And I guess I'm just going to come out right out and ask you, could you tell us your start of this? What started you into this, because you're such a strong supporter and you're all the way across the world. So what made you do this?
Hi, girls. Yeah, and thank you very much for having me on. Any opportunity to speak and support Brendan is most welcome. So yeah, so my origin story is I suppose I've always been involved in, you know, advocating for social justice in some form. I had moved back from Ireland to Australia around the time that Making a Murderer came out, and I was on my desk and my husband and daughter were watching Making a Murderer, and my daughter said, "Mum, you have to come and see this," and it was part of the interrogation of Brendan, and all I heard was his voice, and I went, "What? What is this?" And so I then sat down myself and I watched it. And as soon as I finished watching it, I got straight online and thought, how do I get involved? How do I help? Because I think one of the main takeaways from watching it was that I could not leave it behind. So what happened to Brendan wasn't something I could walk away from. It wasn't just a TV show. You know, I had hoped that, you know, I would find out that this was, you know, a fictional social experiment through Netflix, and that this actually hadn't happened. But no, as we know, that wasn't true. So I jumped onto Twitter. I don't know if
Sorry.
I jumped on. Is it okay? Am I messing up?
No, you're fine.
Yeah,
you're fine. No,
so yeah, I jumped onto Twitter. The first person I found was Stephen Drizzen. The first question I asked was about the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, and I just took it from there. So in my everyday work, I'm a writer, and I'm involved in an incredible marketing team for one of the world's largest NGOs. And through them and through previous work, I've been able to accumulate certain skills. I sound like Liam Neeson now in Taken. So it just made sense for me to get involved. And the further that I got involved, the further that I read, the more outraged I was. And that outrage turned into activism. So that's kind of my story, you know.
Well, also, we know in your outrage, you've created a website, BrendanDassey.org. Is that correct?
Free Brendan
Dassey. Okay. And you've did the 6th hour, which we'll get into in just a minute. I'm gonna let Becca take that one. And the billboards, let's say that's fantastic. Everybody loves that, and to have so many of them. So, you know, to do that, go to that extent.
Yeah, I think I'll just correct myself. It's actually freedomforBrendanDassey.com.
Okay.
Okay. There's so many variations I have across everything. So from Instagram and what have you. Yeah, touching on the billboards, it's interesting that a few years back, like I'm a big fan of a writer and director called Martin McDonagh. And a few years back, he released a film called Seven Psychopaths. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but I've always thought that if I was going to write a film, it would be that film. I just love it. All right. So then along comes Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. And that's always stayed with me as something. And then, you know, you see what the Lincoln Project are doing. I mean, this is on a different scale. They're absolutely massive, but geez, they're so good, right? The people behind that are just so incredibly good. And it was all about positioning and affecting opinion on the ground in Wisconsin. So yes, I'm in Australia, and I'm going to give a massive call out to my partner in Good Trouble, and that's Mark Hoddinott.
Yes.
Mark is the logistical brains behind this, and I simply wouldn't be able to do it without his help. So, you know, it is, and I'm sure I speak for Mark, being able to have something tangible on the ground in Wisconsin after 5 years of supporting, there's great satisfaction in that. So what was the aim? What is the aim of our billboards? You know, so it's positioning Brendan in front of mind in his home state, and we're calling people to action, and to revisit Brendan's injustice, and ultimately with the newest campaign, we're asking people to remember that Brendan was just a boy, just a boy. And with a system that's so fractured and so adversarial in Wisconsin, where, you know, the presumption of innocence is lost to the pursuit of conviction, basically, that it could be your child. You could be driving this picture on this billboard, that could be your child, your brother, your sister. And, you know, the image of Brendan is so incredibly poignant as well. Like it's hard to say that you have a favorite image, but coming from a marketing angle, it's a bloody good image. So, you know, and it showcases, I think, the inherent innocence in Brendan. So, yeah, you know, it's a tangible way to have Brendan home for Christmas. You know,
yeah,
that's a good way of looking at it. Yeah.
They speak, they're loud, they're in your face. And that's kind of the role that I've been on a little bit lately, is like, let's be louder. You know, you can be respectful and be very loud, you know, and that's what we need. We need more people to take a look at it, because like I said in the past, so many people either don't want to be bothered with it, have forgotten about it, or don't know anything about it, you know, or maybe they do, and seeing that will say, well, you know, maybe I should check that out. This is still going on. You know what I mean? So I think that's great advertisement. Totally wonderful.
And you know, the beauty of it is that this is only, I can have as many ideas as I can, but without Brendan's supporters getting behind these ideas, they just wouldn't happen. Like when we did the billboard for the anniversary of the clemency petition being filed, that wasn't a supporter funded. There were basically Brendan's admin team from the Justice and Freedom group. We put that bad boy together.
Wow.
And then Mark was on board with us as well.
Yeah.
But from there, because of the absolute love and support that Brendan inspires in people, I was inundated with people saying, how can I help? Let's do more billboards, let me support. Can I donate money? So from there, it just, it snowballed and snowballed. And the support for Brendan is just humbling, and it's incredibly inspiring.
Yeah.
Next year, hopefully that they're going to revisit clemency.
Yeah,
I'm putting together a holistic, it's like an ecosystem of marketing materials and deliverables that will encompass things like billboards, online media, TV spots, radio spots. So it's going to be a big undertaking, and
I'm on board with you.
Yeah, and every person that wants to get involved and wants to support and wants to contribute to that will have the opportunity to do that. And I do want to make it known that everything is absolutely transparent. So if at any point we have registered, Justice and Freedom as a PayPal as a business.
Okay.
I had to do that a few years back when we started doing the merchandise.
Yeah.
Just so that people knew that it wasn't me, because people are ridiculous.
Yeah, they are.
No matter what you're doing a good thing. They're going to get at you about it.
Oh, no matter what you do.
Right.
Yeah, so I leave them to that. They can make up whatever they like. But with the PayPal that we have, at any point, any person that contributes to it, they can be given a full accounting. It's absolutely no issues whatsoever.
You want to see what that PayPal is, and I'll have my mods put it in so we can, and also I can put it in the descriptions from now on, so people will have that readily available for them to help. So, because a lot of people say, well, how can I help? Where do I go? There's a good one. So if you could say that, we could put it in I know my catnip will do that for sure. She'll put it in there and everybody will get it. So
yeah, it's paypal.me/justiceandfreedombd.
There you go. And I know Catnip's probably, she's super mad. She'll get it out there. Or Rhonda, somebody out there will do it. Put it in there, please, so everybody can see it. And we'll put it in the description too, so we have that. And start putting that in the description all the time so we can get some more people involved. Like you're saying, it's okay to have all these ideas, but one single person, you can't really do it. So I'm always trying to get people, hey, give me some ideas. Let's do this and do that. And hey, I'm on board. Fantastic news.
Yeah. So just again calling out some incredible supporters who have been more than generous in their support of the billboards.
Yeah, that's great. Fantastic.
It's been humbling, particularly on a Saturday morning. I wake on a Saturday morning to people going, Tracy, I want to contribute. Tracy, here's a full payment for a billboard. It has been absolutely awesome. And it is not lost on me that this is primarily and singularly for Brendan.
Right.
I'm just a conduit that comes up with ideas, and people get behind it for Brendan. So, it's been incredibly special. And
he has great supporters. He has really good supporters, and more jumping on band all the time. That's why me and Becca and myself, did the Discord, because there just was nothing strictly just for Brendan, except for like the websites you have and Facebook.
As far as Discord went, there was nothing strictly for
there was nothing as far as Discord or YouTube strictly for Brendan. So having Brendan on board with naming the channel we have and being a part of it, it makes it even more special for us and for the supporters. So I really appreciate that. And Becca, I'll let you take over, because it looks like Linda Low Budget Productions is kind of working here.
It's her witching hour. I call it the witching hour. It's when her Wi-Fi starts acting wonky.
Right.
Just Rondo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, just Wanda wants. What if you could repeat the PayPal address? It's
Yeah, let me just bring it up again.
I was gonna type it myself, and I'm like, I better not rely on my memory.
So it's paypal.me / Justice and Freedom BD.
BD, yeah. Okay, and that's usually if somebody wants to contribute to the Billboard Fund and they just want to drop like $20, that's where they should send it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've had quite a few people since the recent billboards went up that have asked if they can contribute, and I certainly don't want to take funds from people when there isn't something in the works.
Yeah.
So what I would ask is if people do want to contribute, while there's not something going on, please contribute to Brendan's commissary.
Yeah.
When we do get to next year and we have the deliverables worked out, designed, and all the assets ready for the campaign, then I will, go to the supporters and say, look, do you want to be part of this? And that's when I'd ask people to contribute. So for me, I would hate anyone to put money into the PayPal in the meantime. Yes, yeah.
I understand. I do know that, and I guess I just want to put this out there. There's a lot of like over the seas people who want to contribute to the PayPal, or not to Brendan, but can't because they're overseas. That's where we send the money to Barb.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So not the Justice and Freedom BD.
No, absolutely not.
But contact Barb, and then that way the money can go to her.
Because if people send it through to that PayPal, they're basically sending it to me in Australia. So I would then have to send it to Barb anyway. So yeah.
I was just making sure that everyone knew. Like, don't put like any money that you think to go into his commissary. Yeah. So the 6 hour. Everyone loves the 6 hour. I liked it a lot. I liked the way it just sounded very smooth. I love the music with it too. I think your husband did that, right?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You like it's literally everything was organically came from you guys with that.
100%. So when I had the idea to do the podcast, I said to my husband, he's been a musician since he was 14. And I said to Tom, I need you to create some pieces of music for me. Think of Crivets, It's Cold. Like, you know what I mean? I tried to set the scene for him because ultimately there's nothing joyful about the story I'm telling.
Yeah.
And, it was just trying to capture, I suppose, a tone for the story, and I think he did that really, really well. Like, I don't get me wrong, I don't listen to them now. But when I do put one on and I hear it, I go, he did pretty good. He didn't do too bad at all.
It was so easy to follow. It was easy to follow. It really brought the story out in a very smooth way. But it hits you. It pulls your heart. Like Brendan just pulls your heart. And no matter what, I mean, that must have been really hard to do that, I would think.
Yeah.
It was. And the thing for me was it was extremely satisfying because obviously there's this, knowledge transfer that you get from speaking to, the caliber of people that I had the opportunity to speak with. These are people that know what they're talking about, people like Professor Levine, Dr. Richard Leo, clemency scholar, Professor Mark Osler, like blew me away that he came on, but Dave Thompson from Wicklanders Zalowski, these people are incredibly knowledgeable in their fields. Michael Cicchini, who's a defense attorney in Wisconsin and has written 2 books, one on Stephen and one on Brendan. Their input was just, I couldn't have done it without them. because who cares what I have to say, right? So I have opinions, but they're worth nothing in the scheme of things. But when you're talking to people who are experts in their field, people who have been involved in the process at some point, whether it was years ago, whether it's post-appeals, the post-appeals journey, it's post-appeals. What time is it? Let me say that again. But like it was pretty incredible, and just to be able to share that with people. So it's like, the question is, why did Brendan confess? What were those compelling elements about Brendan Dassey that led him to confess, right?
Mhm.
And we find that out. We find that out because we have under the hood analysis and Professor Michelle Levine breaking it down. Here's a kid that couldn't comprehend more than 5 words in a sentence. That jury didn't know that. They didn't know that, but we know that now. So when Professor Levine talks about the fact that it's time for the courts to say that's enough,
Right.
because juries aren't going to do it, prosecutors aren't going to do it.
No.
You need the courts to step in and say, no, that's enough. Like if we look at Brendan's case, his confession should have been suppressed. It should never have gone any further than that. It was farcical.
Yes.
But that whole idea of, that presumption of innocence being replaced by the pursuit of conviction, it has made a mockery of the system, an absolute mockery of the system. And as we know, it's not just Brendan. This happens all over the US.
Mhm.
It does. It's weird how Brendan's case for me opened this door to like cases for a lot of people that have a real problem in America that I didn't know existed. That apparently it's been going on for a very long time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There's like 27,000 hours or something like that. Oh gosh, I can't even remember. I got it written down. When I seen how many wrongful convictions since 1985 and how many have been exonerated and the amount of hours that these people had put into a prison system for something they didn't do, it just blew me away.
Yeah.
It blew me away.
I think we're looking at there's around 2,800 plus people who have been exonerated.
Yeah.
But, we have to remember that there are people who have been fortunate, because we see through the process for Stephen and for Brendan how difficult it is to try and overturn a conviction.
Yeah.
So these 2,800 plus people are incredibly lucky, because this isn't a process that works all the time. Right. So there is absolute luck involved in that, and no doubt some bloody good lawyering as well. But at the same time, there are so many people languishing that
the courts look at it weird. They look at it as a conviction. They don't. Because he is convicted, and that's how the courts look at it. So when they see it, they go, "Oh, well, he was convicted of this," and it's a jury conviction. So that's a big thing to try to overcome here.
Yeah. Well, we know that, a false confession is like the gold standard, right? But we also know with Brendan that there's zero collaborative evidence to support his conviction, to support any there. As I say this over and over again to people, 500 items were sent to the Wisconsin State Crime Lab. Not one of them came back positive for Brendan Dassey's DNA. And when people get into debates over it, it's kind of like, don't listen to me. Don't listen to me. But I'll tell you who you should listen to. You should listen to, and, rattle off the lawyers, rattle off the subject matter experts. Because, while there may be great judicial ignorance, and we saw that at the Seventh Circuit Court, there's a lot of ignorance all around, really. And that's why I suppose the Wrongful Conviction, False Confessions podcast is so vitally important, for those stories to be told, so that it becomes more of a norm for people to consider, particularly if they're called to jury service, that the idea of a false confession, like if somebody has confessed, don't just believe that because somebody has confessed, So that education around false confessions is something that's a powerful tool in trying to stop so many false confession convictions.
Well, if they would look at it in the investigation to begin with, that the words are not meeting the evidence, that would stop a lot. But when they hear, oh, I did blah blah blah, whatever they're confessing to, they're like, sealed, done. They don't look at, where's the evidence for what he is saying? That's to me a very big thing in this case with Brendan. That is, it's absolutely nothing to corroborate what he says, and that the jury, which I think most people should be very educated on if they're going to do it, should have the lawyers, the prosecutor should have never took this anyway. You know what I'm saying? There's no evidence, and I think that's a big lack here in this case, especially.
Yeah. But we know that the prosecutors, they lied to the jury.
Of course.
You're telling them that innocent people don't confess, and they're allowed to lie, just the same way as the investigators were allowed to lie via Fraser versus Cupp. They can say whatever they want to a child, that's in the interrogation room. They legally can do that.
Yeah.
A lot of people forget that Brendan was a child now that he's an adult, and they look at this and and he was a child when this was going on, and
that's what they have to remember, Linda.
Yes.
That's what they have to remember. And also that the fact that Brendan was functioning between the ages of 5 and 11 years of age. So the child that was sitting across from Wiegert and Fassbender had, was thinking at the level of a 5 to 11-year-old, could not comprehend more than 5-word sentences, was being beaten down by a barrage of language and word salad from those investigators. He had no, he had no attorney, he had no adult present with him.
The courts were definitely not on his side. They just threw him to the wind. You know what I'm saying? They definitely were not there for him at all.
Weren't. They weren't.
Not
and
at all.
Nor were his lawyers. Both sets of lawyers, I believe, were both as ineffective as each other, except Kaczynski.
They're totally.
Yeah, Kaczynski was just a bit more malignant about it, I think.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother thing for me. I can go on and on about that, so I get very angry about that. But
I was going to say, going back to the podcast, though.
Sorry, that was a tangent.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It always happens. So that's I'm like the traffic coordinator, so go back to.
She's the one that keeps it in line because I can fly up the side, so it's real easy.
Yeah, the podcast. You are working currently on the second season. I believe that's what you said.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So is there anything spoiler you can give us, or?
All I will say is what I'm going to try to do with the second season is present solutions. So
that's good.
So let's look at what can be done legally for Brendan now.
Yeah.
And, I go heavily into Miranda because that's one of my things, and just trying to get on board, as I said, some subject matter experts that I really, really, it's like a Christmas list of people for me.
Yeah.
If they come back, it'll be quite incredible. But having said that, I'm very appreciative of the people that came on board for the first season, and I think that kind of supports my case going into a second season and bringing people on board. So that's a good thing. But yeah, and the crux of it is to do what you guys are doing, and is to keep telling this story, and to. One of the interesting things is each day I'll go into the statistics of the podcast, like I go into the statistics of the visits to the website and things like that. And people are coming and finding this podcast every single day, which is just brilliant. And from an analytical point of view, I've found that people who start at the beginning, they listen to all of the episodes, which is really quite heartening, you know, that you're getting this story across to people. And perhaps people who didn't know these things about Brendan's, you know, capacities and limitations, or didn't know these things about Len Kaczynski and the ineffective assistance of counsel, or didn't know, you know, about the elements contributing to a clemency petition, and why perhaps Governor Evers has been reluctant to step into, you know, the commutation space. So, you know, from that perspective, it's really heartening to see that people are coming to it every day. And the second season, I hope to be even more interesting, interesting. I want to delve more into the evidence part of it as well. So, yeah.
That's what I'm kind of on too. I'm kind of on the same page.
This actually just popped into my head. I don't know if because you just woke up. Kind of. Earlier today, Governor Evers posted a link to a YouTube where they were showing the Zoom visit of the pardon board and the process of what they go through and how it basically looks like. So I don't know if you've seen that yet. The one thing that I've noticed while I was watching it is that the person who was asking to be pardoned was present for that.
Yes.
Do you think that, and this is probably more of a lawyer question, that if there was a possibility for Brendan to somehow speak either over the phone or whatever to these people, do you think that would make more of an impact? Or
I think just referencing back to the video on YouTube, they usually do it via a live stream on Wisconsin WizEye, it's called, and I've watched quite a few of them before. One of them I watched for 3 hours, and I was like, Tracy, what are you doing with your life? But it is infinitely interesting insofar as like it's, you know, it's like watching a reality show. Kind of, it's weird, but what's interesting to me is that a lot of the people who are seeking a pardon share a lot of commonalities in the types of crimes. You know, obviously there's that criteria they have to meet before they're even brought before the board. So they've all been, you know, at least 5 years out in the community, and you know, they want to perhaps get a license for a particular thing. They want to, you know, get a different job or something like that. So it's a really fantastic for these people. Of course it is, but it's a really vanilla-ized version of what clemency is and what the, you know, actually bestowing mercy on another human being is. Like, you look at Centoya Brown and her case, and you know, that was mercy. That was giving that child mercy. And for me, the big thing in Wisconsin is, if Evers is not going to expand that criteria, which he could do in a 5-minute block, right? He could do whatever he wants. This is not something he has to cross the aisle to get permission to do. This rests solely with him. You know, the Pardons Advisory Board is a nice to have. He doesn't have to take on board what they say. Their decision isn't final. It's his decision that's final. He takes their recommendations as, you know, as he sees fit. But it's, you know, let's get a conviction integrity review unit, because if you're politically timid to go ahead and you know, step into the commutation space, then what relief are you offering for people who have claims of actual innocence in your estate? What relief have you got for people who are wrongfully convicted? So, you know, a lot of states are coming forward now with conviction integrity units. Let's get one in Wisconsin. Why would you know, a state be reluctant to do that? Surely you don't want innocent people serving time for somebody else's crime.
Mhm.
Because I read this the other day and it stuck with me, that the people who win in a wrongful conviction are the people who committed the crime. You know,
Right.
so they're walking
Yeah.
around and they're living their lives, and you have, and if you don't do conviction integrity reviews, if you're not looking at wrongful conviction claims in your state, then you're allowing and enabling people who actually do commit crimes to be a continuing part of society.
Yeah.
Right.
And perhaps contributing to further crimes, like we saw with Gregory Allen is a prime example of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't forget that the real killer is still out there. This person is let free to do more, worse. You don't know. I mean, so who would not want to keep that kind of person off the street? You know, that's what I think. The same thing. I think that is more needed to. Hey, we better really take a look at this. What's going on? I mean, I just don't understand. It boggles my mind how all of us people around the world, because there's supporters for all around the world, can see this, and we're just individuals, you know, people. None of us. I mean, I'm not no lawyer. I'm just a person, and we see the wrongdoings, and but we don't have the power to make the difference. So we're reaching out to those who do, and if they're not willing to look at that, it makes you really wonder, what are you doing? Why are you in charge of this state? Or why do you have that much power that you're not going to use it for justice and fairness and giving people back their life? It's a big thing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one thing we should remember, though, Linda, and I say this to you with great respect, is that we can be the difference, right? So I remember speaking with Dr. Richard Leo on the podcast, and he makes this, because at the end of each conversation, I would ask them, what words would you share with Brendan's supporters? And Dr. Leo spoke to the fact that if you look at a lot of cases, including the West Memphis 3, a lot of the impetus to overturning these convictions or finding, legal resolution for these convictions was because people didn't stop. Ordinary people, extraordinary people, I should say, wouldn't stop. And it's because of people like yourselves. It's because of the people who are tweeting every day, the people who are joining the emails apps, the people who are, doing their YouTube videos, putting billboards up, running Facebook groups, writing letters to the governor. It's because of those people that convictions are brought to bear. They're brought in front of the people that matter. And I do think, and this is something that I firmly believe in, that the pressure at some point, the power sits with the people, always sits with the people. Yes, we can't walk into the legislator and call for a bill to pass or anything like that, but we can certainly put pressure on, and I think that's important. You look at West Memphis 3, for example. Yes, there were some really high-profile people involved in that, like your Eddie Vedders and Johnny Depps and what have you. But there were a lot of ordinary people. I don't know if you've seen the documentaries. There were a group of people that came together. Yes, that came together, and they just didn't stop. They didn't stop. There's a case
Ryan Ferguson's dad.
Yes,
he didn't stop.
That's exactly it. You just can't stop. If something is wrong, you can't stop, because herein lies it for me. I'm not religious, even though I celebrate it for everybody else. But but for the grace of God go I. So if this was me, if I had been wrongfully convicted, I fucking hope that there would be people out there that would be fighting for me.
Yeah.
Right. So I can't see past, this brick wall in front of me in my 8x10, but let there be people out there fighting for me. And one of the things that the billboards, for example, has done on a massive scale, and this is something myself and Mark talk about quite a lot, is the hope that it gives Brendan's supporters, and the sense of mobilization, that something's being done, that we're contributing to something here for him, and it lifts people up. And I know that Brendan loves it. So if that was all we got from it, fantastic. That's a job well done. But the fact that we've gotten articles from it, and we've had some high profile people sharing the images and stuff like that, they're incredible bonuses to have. I
think back on what was it, 250 papers were wrote in for Brendan's supporting, what was it, omnibus papers? Was it like 250 of them?
The open letter that signed on to the open letter. Yeah.
I mean, that's marvelous. Like Seth Waxman. I mean, a lot of people, I say that, and to me, he's a very powerful person. And for people like that to be on board, it means something. It means something to us as supporters. It does. It means a lot to me. And when I seen the billboards, I was like, oh my gosh, finally, it's going to be, in their face. They can see it, and to know that there's that many of them out there. And Millbilly's in here. So thank you, Millbilly, for the picture in Milwaukee.
Yes. Big thank you. Big thank you.
Yeah. So, I mean, that just makes me feel so good and brings more people on board.
Yeah.
There was a question in the chat. Somebody, Alice asked, and I know you're not on Discord yet, Tracy. I say yet because I hope one day you join.
You have your own room.
I know Foul Play has been doing trial readings and transcripts of the Brendan's trial, where they recruit other members of Foul Play to do different voices of different people, and it's like a trial. Yeah, it's like a trial reading. She wanted to know what your opinion of that was. I think that's what the question was.
Of Discord.
Of the trial reading.
We are starting in Foul Play. We just finished Stephen's trial. So we are having people read the trial transcripts and we're putting them out. And we just started Brendan's trial. So I think she just wanted to know, do you think that's a good idea to do that? Or
100%. 100%. We need anything that anybody can think of. So it's the more the merrier. Let's have 1,000 YouTubers. Let's have 1,000 Discord discussions.
Right.
Just, even if people don't agree on the nuances, who cares? Just get out there and do it. I'd be interested to hear that. I mean, there's something. Not only is that bringing Brendan's injustice to light, and I think sometimes if you're reading it and you hear people, you take it on board. It's like listening to a podcast, right? So it's that type of experience, I suppose, and how you're consuming your content. But there's also something really innately creative about that too. It's almost Shakespearean in a way. So
I've listened to a few, and it's actually really interesting the way that it brings a different kind of context to it, like you said, rather than just reading it. Like you can actually hear their voices and almost like you're there yourself. Way.
Yeah, I don't like hearing myself, but I do think it puts out the facts, and that puts a rest to some of the speculation and things that were going on if you read it. And I know I've read them, but hearing them back, you're like, wow. Or when you're reading yours, like I just finished Barb's part, so I didn't know that, and it's like, oh, I didn't know that, or it didn't set in, I should say, when I read it myself. So I think they're great too. So I'll leave it to Foul Play.
Yeah.
I remember when we go back to 2017 and we had the the appellate process in full swing, and every time that there would be an opinion issued, I'd have to drive to work, and I'd be like, oh, can someone just read that to me while I'm driving? Do you know what I mean? So I think there's great value in having that available for people, because it speaks speaks to convenience as well. It's all about how do we consume this content, and how do we take it on board in a way that fits in with lifestyles. And these are considerations. This is what marketers consider, right? So, yeah, no, well done, girls. I think that's great.
Yeah. So that, I think that leads me to like my last question that I have for you is that us as supporters, like, what do you suggest, or what your biggest opinions of what's the best we can do to support Brendan right now?
Or maybe something that isn't done by supporters yet that we could do. Yeah, because I'm always asking people in Discord, please leave us your suggestions. We want to hear it all, because every little suggestion matters. And it could be the one that just pops everybody off and they all pay attention, So if you don't try it, it's like, you're shooting in the dark at a target. You got a 50-50 chance. So why not do it? You know what I mean?
100%.
Just try it.
Yeah. In terms of what people can do, I mean, let's start at the beginning. The biggest thing that people can do to make an impact in Brendan's life is to write to him. So, the more people that write to Brendan, share their lives, takes Brendan away from the one that he's forced to live. So that's the first thing, I think. Now, in terms of let's get creative, I think it's limitless what we can actually do. So let's look at the emails app, for example. We've got over 300 people who take part in that. Can you imagine if that was 1,000, right? So we basically do a massive dump into Governor Evers' inbox, and whether he reads it or not, I know a lot of people come back and say, I get this generic reply, and I'm like, of course we're going to get a generic reply, right?
Yeah.
Of course we are. We can't expect more than that. But what we do know that we achieve by doing this is that the amount of support for Brendan Dassey is noted at the highest level. And that's just a subtle way that we do it. And I hope that, when we do it, the reasons I say to people about spacing in your header and using different lines and headlines and stuff like that is so that they can't just automatically put us all into a spam folder. That we don't want to go anywhere near spam, right?
We don't want to be spam.
But I think, write letters to Governor Evers. At this point in time, the biggest barrier to Brendan being home, and what is actually legally in play, is the fact that they called for clemency last year. We know that they have to go back and do that again. Not that they have to, but hopefully that's something that is on their radar to do again. So I think Governor Evers needs to be made aware of the support for Brendan, and we need him to review the petition. We need him to speak to Brendan Dassey. I think anybody who speaks to Brendan Dassey or hears Brendan Dassey speak is fully aware of the fact that this young man could not have in a million years committed the crime that he's been convicted of. So I think, it's very much about getting to Governor Evers through letters, through tweets. You'll see there's so many supporters as soon as Governor Evers on Facebook, for example, when he posts it, people jump on it and they're asking for him to look at Brendan's petition to grant Brendan clemency, and it goes off, and it's a thing of beauty. It's a thing of beauty, because there are always going to be trolls. Of course there are, but you just need to counteract them with facts. It's not about getting into arguments with these people. It's like, you know what? That's great. That's your opinion. But let me just tell you actually what happened, or let me tell you something you can read for yourself. So don't tell me that I'm informed by a documentary, because that's a little bit condescending. But so it's getting involved in those types of ways, because whether we like it or not, social media platforms are where people are, and it's where Governor Evers and his team are. And so, tweeting and all those types of things, I think if you can get behind things like Discord and you become part of the community of people and you're using your voice, there's nothing nothing I love more than to go into Twitter and just to see my feed full of people tweeting in support of Brendan. It's a thing of beauty to me, you know. People like Sarah and Viv, and yourself, Becca, and you know, there's some supporters that are more newer. I wish I had a better way of saying that, to the cause, who I absolutely adore, because, you know, when we get these waves of people who become outraged by what happens to Brendan, they then find the groups, they then find the Twitter, they then connect with everyone, and it is really a community of support. So I think, you know, engaging as many people as you possibly can and making them aware of Brendan's injustice is really, really important, because I think once people become aware of the injustice, that outrage and that sense of what can I do comes next.
They realize that this could be me. So if it was me, like you said, I would hope people would stand behind me and help me. And that's it. I mean, on the Twitter feeds, anything the governor puts out, I am putting on there. Free Brendan Dassey, you know, or something about Brendan, putting the website out or whatever it is. I tag him in everything. So you know,
I often see Michelle Vernon, who jumped
she gave me the idea.
To his tweets, and I think she was given a bit of flack about the fact that somebody said to her it's inappropriate. I can't remember what he was tweeting about, and I'm like, do you know what's inappropriate? Is that there's an innocent man who has served so far 14 plus years. That to me is inappropriate.
Me too.
So you know,
I know Michelle, me and her talk a lot about that, dealing with trolls and stuff, because my way of dealing them is telling them to fuck off, and her way is to actually engage and on a positive level and try to give them the facts of it. So it's definitely something that I struggle with.
I just ignore them, to be honest. I scroll past because
I've been trying to just block or ignore. But
Facebook's different. Like if I see, you know, a few of you guys going and you're involved in a conversation, and I'm like, I'm taking a break from work, I'll go, I feel mischievous, I'm going to jump in here. But on Twitter particularly, because, you know, faceless keyboard warriors, who cares about them? You know,
that's where I'm just like, you know what, you're an asshole. Bye. Actually, like, that's literally my attitude. But it's really hard though, because also I try to think like, well, I'm representing Brendan, hopefully in somewhat of a positive light. So it makes it really, it's a struggle.
I try to give them information first, and then if they keep their crap up, I just ignore them, you know, because they're uninformed or they're being paid to be a troll, or if they are personally hitting me, well, then I must be doing something right. So that to me is a compliment, because they'll always try to put down a person who's doing something good. So, you know, that's how I look at that.
I have gotten the whole, you know, this is inappropriate to post under this post for Governor Evers and all that. And one time it was Veterans Day, and I said, well, my dad's a veteran, and he agrees with me on this, and he wants to tell you, you know, shut up. So
I just got about 10 people on the feed for this person who passed away. And I said, I'm sorry, but that's how I feel. You know, I mean, you know, I'm gonna make another person.
It's hard where, but you know, we have like what I would consider as an emergency. Brendan being in there is, to me, that's an emergency. So what do you do in emergencies? You do everything you can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I'm just not interested in engaging with people that aren't trying to make a positive impact. So, you know, that's like, for me, my energy goes towards those people and towards those types of conversations. You know, it's
Michelle says it works if you try to be nice at first, because she's changed a couple people's ideas by giving them a link.
That's where me and her have that, because I'm not, and she's like, well, if you maybe try it this way, and I'm like, I really just want to like do the finger salute and like walk out.
I'm
But
just, yeah, no, for me personally, I think it's great. And I love the fact that everybody has different ways of
yeah, it has
of,
different ways of
of
doing it. Yeah.
doing what they do. But for me, if I see anything negative, I just don't engage.
Yeah.
I figure that those 5 or 10 minutes and perhaps an hour, who knows how outraged they could make me.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
rather spend that doing something positive for Brendan. But
Right.
Yeah.
we need everybody to be doing everything they can. It's like, what can I do? I don't know. What can you do? Have a think about what you can do for Brendan today.
Right. Can you
Um,
hashtag something? Can you write him a letter? Can you talk to your neighbor who doesn't know about it? That's anything you do is, if it's a positive thing towards getting Brendan out, is great. No matter how big you might think or how small you think it is, it all matters.
That's right. It's like Patti Smith at the West Memphis 3. There was a fundraising concert, and she said, she does this little speech, and I absolutely love it. She says it's the little things, because all those little things become one great big thing. And I think that's very true of the MAM community and people who support. There's a lot of little things going on that produce a big thing, which is, in its essence, is massive support for Brendan Dassey.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all the questions I have. What about you, Linda?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. This has been so great talking to you, Tracy, and of course, I always love talking to Becca. So, but yes, I mean, you're preaching the same things we are, and those who have not wrote to Brendan, you have no idea how much that means to him. But let me tell you something: being a receiver of a letter from Brendan does a whole lot for yourself. I have to tell you that I put off writing Brendan for so long because I figured I didn't know what to say to him, because it was, I don't know what to say. But man, does it make me feel good to know that he appreciates that, and he appreciates it. He really does. So it makes your day. It's the best mail, like Michelle Vernon says. Receiving a letter from him brightens your whole day. It really does.
I know I usually pick on somebody who hasn't written to Brendan. I think it's been Mystic Jinx. So
Yeah.
I hope you were hearing that, Jinx, as far as the letter writing.
or you could, if you want to write a small note to Brendan and you don't, you're like kind of like me who forgets to mail things once in a while, write it in Discord, and Becca is always taking things from Discord and sending it to Brendan. So and I know that Just Rhonda does that for Daniel Holzclaw. So I'm sure we would not mind doing that either. I'm kind of hiring Becca a little bit, but she does it anyway. So, I just write to him. Don't send him anything anymore. Check with his mother. And if you feel like sending something, send it to his commissary or send it towards the billboards or whatever campaign that wonderful Tracy's doing. And, that's ways you can really help too. So.
Oh, and the Be Brendan Brave is jokes.
It's jokes?
Jokes.
Oh, I'm gonna ask him, what do you get when you throw Fig Newton? You get a farfanugan. You get a farfanugan. Just a joke. My granddaughter told me.
Oh, okay. I've never heard that one before. I'm sorry.
Farfanugan is a Volkswagen. Okay.
It's a what?
It's a Volkswagen.
You have to explain.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I know. That's the kind of jokes I know. So, he's not going to get much.
An alcohol? Like, what is that?
A what?
What is that?
A Volkswagen?
Oh, Volkswagen. Oh, I thought I heard something else. I was like, is that like vodka or something?
A Fig Newton, you throw it, it's a farfanugan, and that happens to be a Volkswagen. Oh gosh.
Okay.
Much explanation for a joke.
Connected. Okay.
All right, everybody. If you have not heard the 6th hour, please go listen to it. It's wonderful. The link has been in here. We do have a room for Tracy's campaigns in Discord. Join that. do the jokes, not like the one I just gave you, because
Yeah.
Get on the
He
Zap.
might get it. He's a card guy, so he might get it. I didn't get it. So.
Right to Brendan. Get on the Zap mail. Write to the governor yourself. Tag things he's on. Anything. It doesn't matter. Just everything. Speak his name. That's what I say. Speak his name. And thank you so much, Tracy. It's been wonderful meeting you finally. And I hope we can do this again.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure, ladies. Thank you. Thank you for having me and my little tangents.
It was wonderful. Thank you.
It really was.
My pleasure.
All right. Well, thanks everyone.
Thank you. Bye.